The story of poor girl Jessie. It is said that a long time ago there was a girl named Jessie. Jessie was always being bullied by her classmates at school because she stuttered a little. As for Jessie, she was very shy and unable to respond to those who bullied her on a daily basis, despite the continued harassment towards Jessie, but she did not pay any attention to it. At the same time, Jessie wished they would stop such behavior, which made Jessie feel sad all the time. The situation remained as it was for several months, and Jessie's classmates were still bullying her at school. Jessie did not have the ability to complain about these students to the school principal or to her family. For this reason, the harassment of Jessie continued without stopping. One day, one of Jessie's colleagues proposed a proposal, and if Jessie did this, everyone would stop bullying Jessie. The proposal was that Jessie goes to a cemetery located near the village in the middle of the night of the full moon. Of course, Jessie felt very afraid, but at the same time, she wants to make her colleagues stop bullying her. In the end, Jessie was forced to agree to her colleagues' request and decided that the students would meet in front of the cemetery gate at midnight. Despite Jessie's extreme fear, she was only thinking about making these students stop bullying her. The appointed time came, and the students gathered in front of the cemetery gate with Jessie with them. The atmosphere was very terrifying, especially since it was winter at this time. The sky was overcast, as if we were living inside a horror movie, so frightening that it made the blood freeze in the veins. What is terrifying about it is not only the frightening atmosphere, but also the reputation of the cemetery, which revolves around a lot of rumors. It has been said that ghosts spread in this cemetery every full moon night. Jessie entered the cemetery alone, and all the students were looking at her and asking her to move forward, until Jessie screamed at the top of her voice. Immediately, all the students fled, leaving Jessie alone. The next morning, while Jessie's family was looking for her because she had not returned home, they found Jessie's lifeless body in the cemetery, her clothes torn, and her face looking like she had seen something frightening and terrifying to the utmost degree. The Ghost Story 2 of the Family House. The role of the events of this story revolves around a house inhabited by a family of 5 people. One day, while the family was eating dinner, the doorbell rang. The eldest girl went to see who was knocking, but when the girl approached the door, she noticed something strange on the stairs inside the house. It was this stairs. It leads to the basement, where the girl noticed that there was a girl wearing a black dress stained with blood, looking at her with a frightening look and smiling. The girl looked carefully. Perhaps what she saw was just illusions, but she actually realized that what she saw was reality. That girl's train of thought was interrupted by the doorbell that rang again. The girl spent that night thinking about what she saw, especially since the family had bought this house only a few days ago. The next day, the girl saw the same scene again. Here the girl decided to tell her mother about what she saw, but her mother did not believe it. In the beginning, the girl used to see that ghost in only one place, and when she was alone. But now things are completely different. After the girl told her mother, she began to see the ghost in almost every place around the house, even if she was not alone. The ghost, which is in the form of a girl, as we mentioned, began to look at the girl with a look of extreme anger. Perhaps the reason for this look was the girl's conversation with her mother. One day, while the family was eating breakfast, they noticed that the older girl was not there. The mother went to her daughter's room to wake her up and see the reason. She was not present at the breakfast table in the morning. As soon as the mother entered the room, she saw what was unbelievable. Her daughter was a lifeless corpse without a head. The corpse was as if frozen in terror, and the daughter was pointing at the ceiling. It seemed very clear that the girl saw something on the ceiling of the room, and this thing was responsible for her death. The mother remembered her daughter's words about seeing a ghost in the house and decided to tell the father. The father began asking the residents surrounding the house about the history of the house, and it was a big surprise, as the father learned that the house was home to a man who practiced magic, but this magician decided to stop these practices, and this led to his death at the hands of the jinn. In the end, the family decided to move from this house and live away from the village. The story of the abandoned house. Today, We will tell a strange, interesting story that takes the reader towards horizons of strangeness, amazement, and admiration, so do not go far, and read the story carefully, as it is loved by everyone who loves to see scenes of horror and fear, and we wish you an enjoyable viewing. One day, a man rented a house at the end of the forest. This house was empty, and no one had been there for a long time. The owner of this house changed its decor to rent it out, and then this man came to rent the house. He said, "I brought my belongings to this house. The first day I sat with my wife and young children, and it was a beautiful, fun night. Days passed since we were in this house, and I was extremely happy. This house has a view of the forest, and so did my children. Because the house contains tools for fun and entertainment, such as the beautiful garden in which my children played. I used to go to work in the morning and then come back in the evening, and it was my habit to sleep early so that I could resume my work. However, my wife was a fan of staying up late in front of the TV, and after the days had passed, I was surprised one night by my wife running with fear in her eyes and trembling in her hands as she said, "There is something strange in that house." So I asked her about this thing, and she said, "She hears a loud noise every night in the kitchen, and she hears some children screaming and the sound of legs running inside the house." My role was to calm her down and try to reassure her that they were imaginary things, and I advised her to. She committed herself to her prayers and worship, and then her heart was at peace and we slept together. The day after that day I returned from work and was very tired. I ran to my house and saw my wife not moving, her eyes looking around the corner of the house dripping with sweat and her hands shaking violently. As soon as she woke up, she told me she saw one of the women sitting with her in the living room and eating with her. The conversation went on, and this woman said to her, "She has been living in this house with her family for a long time, and I advised my wife to find another place far away for her and her family, because the house cannot accommodate both families together." My shock was great when I heard this strange story that my wife had told me. As soon as she finished speaking, a short man appeared in front of me and said to me, "We do not want to see you and your family. We are the original inhabitants of the house, and we came before you came to it many years ago. So I searched for another place for you." I agreed to go, and I started looking for another place, but I asked him to neglect me until I found another home. He gave me a month to ensure that he would not harm any of my family, and that they would not appear to us day or night. Then, before this specified period, we left. About this strange house,